All right, next up is Tim Shoppa, N3QE. You probably know this call if you've operated any contests at all in almost any mode. And he's been an instigator in a lot of good things, certainly on the digital side. Until a few months ago was the contest columnist for CQ Magazine, and has put together a lot of really interesting contest statistics to kind of bust some of the myths that we've all been wondering around about about contesting. So we're getting some facts in here to disturb all the discussion. So I think you're good to go, Tim. And you want to do the slides? You want me to?
How about you do the slides for me?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Ed. I've been a ham for 40-some years, but it wasn't until I discovered contesting about 15 years ago that I really jumped in the deep end. It's been a blast. The digital contesting community, all the contesting communities are great, but the digital contesting community is especially welcoming. Please get on for contests, whatever digital mode you want. We would love to learn what you can contribute to it. Thank you. WSJT-mode contesting began with the announcement of FT8 in June 2017. By July, FT8 was being used in the CQ VHF contest. From this point forward, FT8 is now the most used mode in VHF UHF contesting. There's some of the contests sort of have a analog, which is CW and phone category, but the bulk of the action very quickly shifted to FT8. In December 2018, the FT8 roundup is the first HF FT8 contest. Ron WV4P came out of nowhere to lead with the techniques and how to win that. Thank you, Ron. January 2019, FT8 is allowed for the first time in the ARRL RIDI roundup. FT8, you know, the complaint back in 2018 was it was like watching paint dry. If you're a contester, you want rate, you want something to go faster, and I'm all about rate. I love rate. When FT4 was announced by K1JT in April 2019, that was a step forward. We now had 2 WSJT modes that were usable for contesting. FT4 was fast, FT8 could get you DX. Maybe between the two we can build up something interesting here. The first running of the WW Digi contest is in August 2019. That's built around both FT8 and FT4. It's a distance-based contest, so doing FT8 for distance makes sense for points. At the same time, there's multipliers in WW Digi, so the FT4 mode is going to be used for at least some time, to work some close-in mults per band. In January 2021, there's a RIDI-only category in ARRL RIDI Roundup. In January 2022, the ARRL RIDI went back to being RIDI only, but that was because in June 2022, we had the first running of the ARRL digital contest. I've done that, well, only a couple times. Nobody's done it more than a couple times. The distance-based format of the ARRL Digi is very interesting now that we're here at SolarMax. I was on last June for the ARRL Digi. It was astounding. 15 meters was open at 2 a.m. to Europe and Asia. It was astounding. I had never seen anything like that before. Here I am at 100 watts, pecking away, picking off calls in FTA, FT4, all on the other side of the world, working gobs of points. It was great. Anyway, we have a number of weekly activities. I work for a major subway system, so I draw them here on a subway map. On Sunday and Friday, we have the slow-speed CW tests. So the bulk of the calendar contest, of the contest calendar is the 48-hour UTC weekend. But there's events that happen outside that. Sunday and Monday, we have the SST, the slow-speed CW test. That's under 20 WPM activity. On Monday, we have the medium-speed CW test. On Tuesday, we have some phone activity. On Wednesdays, we have the CWTs, sponsored by CW Ops. They have a booth over there. The activity over there is very much towards the high end of CW. On Thursday, we have the new FT4 event I'm going to be telling you about. We have the WRT that Ron was telling us about, and we have the Thursday night CW NS Sprint. And then on Friday, we go back to the SST again. So we slotted the NCCC sanctioning committee, I guess, worked with VE7. worked with VE7AB and WNUE to set up a weekly RIDI sprint on Thursday nights, and similar to what NCCC has done with RIDI and CW. It was 1 year ago that that was announced, right, Ed? At this forum. Yes, yes, and I was super excited about it. Doing a major RIDI contest a couple times a year is one thing. It's a different thing to get on every single Thursday night and see what you can do to maximize your points, maximize your rate. For me, it's a little game against myself. Can I do better than I did last week? What new can I learn? This has been a huge opportunity for me. We set up the FT4, the NCCC Thursday night FT4 sprint. It's a half hour. It runs from 0100 through 0130, right before the RIDI test that Ron told us about. The originally proposed exchange, and this is still used to an extent, it involves using the every broadcast you make, you're sending your call sign and the other guy's call sign, and you're trying to send your grid as often as possible. It's not a bad start, but the use of the R in the transmissions might not be recognized by every piece of RIDI software as sort of an acknowledgement that effectively completes the QSO. On a Thursday night, while our turnout has been often in the teens, number of people reporting the 3830 for the FT4 sprint, we spend a lot of the time working people who don't even know there's a sprint going on at the same time. That's exactly the true as the major FT4, FT8 contests that happen once a year, right, Ed? So in addition to working on other contesters, you're working people, or at least their computers, and getting points for their QSOs and their mults. The proposal was to have a shorter QSO phase than the standard FT4, FT8 sequencing, with the hope that the R in the reply would terminate the QSO and end it right there. And that works with several major FT4, FT8 packages, but not all of them. Let's go to the, we did have some packages. I think that was a WSJT version built just for this FT4 exchange that VE7AB outlined a year ago. Thanks for that customization. But I think we've moved the state of the art ahead of the original proposed exchange. So let me tell you what I think is the most efficient exchange. I think that some software packages and humans are both confused by people saying CQ test or CQNS or CQWW. They're confused by all that. Just plain CQ if you're CQing. So I just CQ with my grid square. The quote-unquote exchange in the Thursday night FT4 is just your grid square. There's no need for a signal report. So the QSO format has been substantially shortened. ICQ, somebody comes back, they send their grid square. Optimally, they send their grid square. At which point, I just short circuit the QSO and send them an RR73 at that point. Okay? They got what I wanted, it was in my CQ. I got what they wanted, it was in their reply back to me. I got everything I needed. After this, the other guy will typically send an RR73 back to me. If I don't get it, I'm not worried. If it's a contester I'm working, he knows that we've had a two-way exchange, we're done. Just like CW or phone or RIDI contesting, there's not an endless repetition of confirmations at the end of each QSO. The fact that I've gone back to CQing at that point means that I got everything I needed from him. If I didn't get his everything I needed from him, I would still be sending a message to him, waiting for him to advance it to the next phase. The wonderful thing about this is that almost all software, either robots or human running WSJT or any other package, recognizes RR73 as the end of the QSO. That's important to the scheme of running rate. Us contesters are all about rate. I've been using WSJT 2.6.1, which to be honest might not be the newest. I'm hovering my finger over that RR73 button all the time. As soon as I get what I needed from the other guy, I go to RR73. Not all software will be satisfied with that. Maybe I'm working a robot, maybe there's a human running the software, but some will insist that I send them a signal exchange. I can hover my button over the signal exchange button and send them that. It's a very hair trigger operation with FT4 because the cycle time is only 7.5 seconds. And if you are trying to change your message from the default to something else, you have like a fraction of a second to make a decision, because if you decide to change your message 3 seconds in, nothing's going to get through to the other side. You got to change your message to what you want right away. Using this, contest success in the digi modes depends not only on working those quote unquote in the contest, but also working the casual ops that aren't in the contest. In this case, some of the casual ops, I don't know if they're robots or they're humans. We're using auto sequence. I'm effectively working their computer. I got to learn how to do that. The FT4 NS module and N1MM works for those in the contest, if somebody's looking for a perfectly standard FT4 exchange, you're going to have to be hitting some buttons to make sure they get a signal report. Then they can send an RR73. Then you can really move on to the next QSO. 107 hams have reported 3830 in the last year. Their participation in 3830. Here's the number of sessions they've been on in their call. WUAT is on this list. He's actually listed here under 2 different calls. He should really be here at 30. So we have a number of regulars that show up Thursday night. We got other guys. Like I said, we work a bunch of guys who don't even know that there's a Thursday night NS FT4 sprint going on. That's just like the real big weekend digi contests. We can compare some of the top rates in the big WW Digi contest. This might be their FT4 peak rates in an hour. These guys can work using SO2R. They can work 100. A peak hour in FT4 using 2 radios is going to be 80 to 120 QSOs an hour. Let's compare that to what we can do on a Thursday night. SO1R guys have a theoretical max of working 120 an hour, but we're often working 86. I've worked as many as 86 and 43 and a half hour, which is 86 in the full hour. Again, a lot of those guys don't know they're on. I'm working them for my quote-unquote Thursday night NS FT4 fix. And SO2R guys like a W1UE can have had a half hour with 65 QSOs in FT4. Again, we're all about rate. We're contesters. That's what we do. An interesting thing about this is, unlike the major weekend digital contests, which all have distance-based scoring, here we're just going purely for rate. So mostly we're bouncing. Now that we're at Solar Max, we might spend some time on 10 or 15. The bulk of the action is on 20 and 40. If it's a Parks on the Air guy, work them on 40, work them on 20. No matter what they're on, if they're CQing, it's very advantageous to be search and pounce in this event. So let's talk.
Can remind us why we're focusing on rate?
It's 1 point per QSO. It's also 1 point per grid square. The format of the contest, you're probably most guys you work are going to be a new grid square too.
Right, but why are we focusing on that?
We're focused. Well, for me, I want to advance the state of art in digital contesting. Okay, I want to do better than I did last week. So I've been optimizing my exchanges. I've been identifying, oh, this guy, in order to work him, I'm really going to have to send a signal report. Then I can move on to the next QSO. But it's all about rate. We're contesters. Contesters get the thrill out of rate, doing better than they did last week. That's what I'm about. There are some issues, like with any FT4 contest. If there's a non-contester on, he's a special event station, he's not sending his grid square, we aren't interested in working him in this event because we need a grid square out of him. This is all about getting his call in his grid square. So if he's not CQing with his grid square, then we're not interested in him. Like any contesting mode, if you send somebody something, you expect a confirmation back. If a confirmation is missed because the band's busy, you got wiped out by QRM, you're a marginal signal in the noise. We're dealing with that just like with any contest mode. Getting hung in an endless loop, inevitably, of the 30 or 40 guys I might work on a Thursday night. One guy, I can't seem to move him beyond him sending me a signal report over and over again. You know, at that point, I'll flip phases. I'll go from the odd phase to the even phase, work some other guys, and I'll probably change my frequency. Then I come back to the original phase 5 minutes later. He's still sending me a signal report. Right? But at that point, I might be able to send him, at that point, well, for whatever conditions, I might have changed frequency, I'm no longer being interfered with, I can complete the QSO there 5 minutes later. So while his computer's been in an endless loop, I worked 7 other guys, and I came back and finished the QSO with him. That's fine. That's certainly happened to me a lot in the weekend digital mode contest. And no replies to your CQ. There's just not that much activity on FFT4 on a weekend night. Being search and pounce is absolutely essential to my strategy. That's my preferred way to do it, and I'll toss out some CQs. I think they aren't receiving my RR73. It may be, like I said, if they're sending me a signal report and RR73 doesn't shut them up, I will go to sending them a signal report to attempt to move their state machine and their auto sequencing. But it could be that I have a really marginal signal, but when they send me a signal report and I'm plus 11, I doubt I went from plus 11 to non-copyable in 7.5 seconds. So I don't know everything that causes it. But that certainly happens whether you're contesting or not contesting in FT. I'm not going to sit there for 5 minutes repeating an RR73 to them or sending a signal report. I will flip phases, flip bands, and then sometimes come back and I'll be able to complete it. I can't explain. Maybe I have some local noise. First week we had 25 participants reporting to 3830. Last week we had 6. It's often 6 to 10 lately. But these are the guys who are on for a Thursday night contest. We work gobs of guys on a very good week of mine. I work 40 plus guys. Only a dozen of them are QSOs with regular participants. Everybody else is just either a person or a robot on FT4 that I work every Thursday. And search and pounce is absolutely essential. That's by far the most productive thing you can do in this half-hour event. And optimizing the state of the art and results in more QSOs for our participants. In the first week, the average QSO total was 20 for people reporting to 3830. Last week, it was 30. So we've been moving the state of the art ahead. That's a 50% increase in 1 year. Maybe there's not much headroom on top of that to grow. We looked a little bit earlier at the theoretical maximum rate, which is 120 in FT4. Maybe we can, some guy doing 30 is only doing a quarter of the theoretical rate. So I think there is still room to grow. There's room to advance our software. There's room to convince the developers of the software packages that their auto sequence mechanism ought to really be optimized for completing the QSO, not for sending an endless reply of acknowledgments. Many remarks have remarked that the sprints have improved their FT4 and FT8 operating ability. I've also been able to figure out different ways to use WSJT and N1MM to maximize my score. FT operating is a little bit inflexible about what you can and can't do, but again, hovering my finger over that next message button, just a fraction of a second. It's a little half hour of, what's he going to send me next and what button do I got to click on next to do the most efficient thing to maximize my rate. We have a number of FT4 and FT8 contests coming up. I want to highlight the ARRL International Digital in June, first weekend of June. With us being at Solar Max, expect lots of DX activity. Don't expect it at the normal time that you would expect in a fall or winter contest. Like I said, last summer, I was astounded to find 15 meters wide open to Asia and Europe at 2 a.m. my time. And WWDigi is at the end of August, and the FT Roundup is in December.